Hello and welcome to Wingot Plays, with a discussion on the current state of play. Questions including what have I been up to, what am I getting up to, and what the hell happened to that Nomifactory Minecraft playthrough. Well, the first question there, let's take a step back and why was there an issue with the Nomifactory playthrough and why did it stop? I have had some sizable PC upgrades. About maybe 2 months ago or so, I think there was a few weeks where I didn't upload a Nomifactory playthrough, and that was sort of, I'd gotten into Warframe and a couple of other games at that point, which were sucking up all my time. But I got a new computer, and that new computer has a Z790 motherboard, a i7-13700 CPU, it's got 64 gigabytes of RAM, it's got an NVMe hard drive built in. Effectively, yeah, there's a whole lot of upgrades in that new computer. It is still using the old 3080 12GB that I had obtained with the previous computer, and I've just copied over, and it's still doing a very good job with just those. However, as part of that, I lost access to my Minecraft world. If we take a look here, this is the computer, and so NVMe here, this is the system drive. There's nothing much of interest going on there, just program files and effectively lots of program files. But if we take it back a step, here, so NVMe data, there's nothing on there. SSD data, so that's basically the hard drive that's carried across from the old PC. And there's no games folder on here. There's Steam, there's software, which only includes Photoshop, and backup. If we take a look in backup does have a games folder and video production. So video production in here is just the various random files, it's not the raw recordings. The raw recordings are in here, recording raw, and there's a couple of episodes there from mid-April, which I don't think got uploaded. In fact, that one's only 38 megabytes, so that's nothing. So there's a single episode which never got uploaded, and then all of these are, hello again, Inscription, which I've not yet produced. But so yes, there's not much in regards to Nomifactory that never got released. There's a single episode, and if we try to find Nomifactory itself, well, the only other place it could be is backup. Backup has games, so in games we've got Minecraft there, fine. Curse doesn't have a Nomifactory folder, it's just got a E2E folder. AT Launcher doesn't have, was SevTech Ages, Sky Factory, Mods, and Multi-MC. Multi-MC does have a number of instances, including SevTech, Sky Factory, E2E, and of course Nomifactory. Now, I believe this was the non-dev version of Nomifactory, this particular instance, and if we go into it, we can see that the save files for Wingot's world there end 7th of June last year. 7th of June last year was, I believe, when I had the previous difficulty with this save file, where I lost the level.dat files and was unable to use that save for some time before I managed to find a backup that I was able to grab that from. I believe this was the stage where I was still using a lot of IV machines. It was nowhere near the level that I had creative. I had made the ISS build and not even filled out 2 wings of that, from what I recall. So, unfortunately, Nomifactory has become a bit dead in the water because I no longer have access to that save. But what I have done is I went to Kmart, and when I was at Kmart, I got one of those 2x2 organizational cube things, And what I built that and started to actually get a bit of a organization, tidying up, binge going. And as part of that organizational binge, I decided I would get on top of my computer setup. And so, if we take a look here, this here is my effectively my old desk. Yes, I've got the SteelSeries Airrock wireless mouse there and the new mouse pad. However, everything else here, there's a whole lot of clutter. There's random boxes, there's the two monitors, and everything here is wired. You've got the old wired Logitech keyboard and Blue Yeti Nano and these Red Dragon speakers because my Logitech speakers were not working at the time. But the next step, you can see I've got here the SteelSeries Apex TKL wireless keyboard. I've got, because that one doesn't have a numpad, I've got this modular numpad here. I've got that Aerox wireless mouse. You can see the SteelSeries here. I got rid of those Steel Dragon speakers and I'm using the Logitech, which I've got working again. And there's the new PC down there and the flight controller, which I've had for a while. And under the desk, definitely needs some cleanup. And here, the Samsung G95 49-inch monitor, which is 1.2 meters wide, and it's a R1000 monitor, so it's got a good curvature going. But also you'll notice that here I've got a desk mount set up for it instead of it using its own normal stand. So it's now sort of free floating above the desk. I can move it up, down, turn it around, etc. with very minimal issues. And it's freed up a lot of this desk real estate. You can see this all looks very clean here now. And if we take a look at it in the context of the rest of the room, over here you can see those storage cubes that I was talking about, that I got one of those, and that's what started me on the whole binge. And yes, there's a little bit of a mess around, but this is so much tidier than it was previously. And you can see there the full 49-inch screen being used as a dual quad HD. And there's, as I said, the new PC. A little bit of mess here. You can see the nice corner desk, and I've got these little drawers built in underneath, and I've put a hook to put my wireless headset onto. So all up, quite happy with this setup, and it's so much nicer than it was. And then finally, I took it to the next step. I got another boom arm, and this is the old 27-inch Quad HD monitor, the LG Ultra Gear that I was using, which I'm now using as a bit of a OBS monitor over there, and OneNote or Discord or a browser, or it's effectively a two screens in this orientation, which works fairly well for things that I don't need to be actively focusing on and paying a lot of attention to. It's sort of like two 23-inch monitors on top of each other, if I was to guess the rough size. And then the main 49-inch can also work here. You can see pretty well as two separate Quad HDs next to each other, the same as what I had previously, but on one monitor here. And lastly, the pretty obvious here microphone, which I'm now using. I've got a Behringer 204 sitting there. Yeah, Behringer UMC 204 HD, which is a USB input, which then has an XLR cable. I've got this boom with a riser, so the microphone is living above the monitor, and this new Rode pod mic has replaced the old Blue Yeti Nano that was often not being detected properly by my computer, which was another issue. The Blue Yeti Nano was frequently not being recognized as a valid device by my computer, and so that's actually where a lot of the issues with getting a recording out were coming from, and a lot of what drove me not getting anything out even before I got this new PC set up. But very happy with all of that, and I'm quite liking the new setup. It has been very freeing, and this monitor we used in full widescreen is quite immersive for whether I'm playing Warframe or The Hunter Call of the Wild or Hitman. But then, what I've been doing with this new computer setup is, if I've not been playing Nomifactory, well, as I said, I did play have been playing a fair bit of Warframe and progressing and gearing up, etc. in that. For anyone that is familiar with Warframe, I've gone from Mastery rank 16 to Mastery rank 22. I've unlocked the whole star chart, including the Zariman and the new war, and I've been progressing through Steel Path and doing sorties and all those sorts of things. So I'm definitely in the late game, although I wouldn't say that I'm yet in the end game. I'm definitely not at the point where fashion frame is my only concern. But at one point, when I was talking to my brother and looking through Steam, looking at both of our activity, I happened to notice that my average game completion was listed as 27%. Quite frankly, that surprised me a lot. I would have expected my average game completion to be single digits, like 6% or something like that. I have so many games that I've not achieved much in, that I've fired up and then put on the back burner, or even there's hundreds of games that I own that I've not even fired up on Steam. And so I was quite surprised to see it as 27%. And seeing 27%, that definitely gave me some motivation to see what I could do about increasing that number. And so you'll see I'm already up to 28.51% sitting here. And it's only been about 3.5 weeks since I noticed that I was sitting there at 27%. At the time, I gave myself a goal of I was going to achieve at least one achievement every single day, which is about 3 weeks and 3 days ago that I came up with that on 8th of July. And since then, as you can see, I've actually done a pretty good job of maintaining that streak, with the exception of 1 week ago today, while I'm recording, on Tuesday the 25th of July, where I was on night shift that week, or I think it was sort of this Saturday through to that Thursday type thing, and after that second night, so Sunday night, Monday night, after the second night on the Tuesday, I went to bed at about 8:30, 9 o'clock when I got home, and my alarms went off at 4:15, 4:30. I turned them off, decided to lay down for a bit longer, and then woke up at 9:15 at night, and immediately got on the phone to my boss to let him know that I was going to be late for my 10 p.m. start that night. So given I did nothing in my spare time that day, I was unable to, other than sleep, I was unable to get any achievements there. But otherwise, you can see I've done a pretty good job of maintaining this streak for 3.5 weeks now. And 3 weeks ago today, I was at 27.9%. Now I'm at 28.51%. So I've gotten over 0.5% in exactly 3 weeks, which I'm pretty happy about that. It's definitely showing that progress is possible. And you can see that I've started 180 games, which was another thing that I noticed. Despite the fact that I own 487 games, only 180 of them have I actually started. So there's another 300 games that aren't counting towards my average game completion, which is part of why I'm as high as I am. As I said, I wouldn't have expected to be anywhere near that high, because I would have assumed everything that I don't have an achievement would count as a 0. You can see over here I've got 4 perfect games, and that's 3 of those is the We Were Here series. The We Were Here Forever is not on that list, as you can see, because it's one that I've only attained 82%, and my brother and I are going to go back and finish that one at some point. But other than those 3 We Were Here games, Factorio is the other one that I've managed to 100%. 660 hours on record, and I've played quite a few playthroughs of this one, but you can see most of my achievements were obtained back in early 2017, January or February 2017, including this was a lazy bastard run. Win the game by manually crafting no more than 111 items. So this was a real sense of achievement. But then there's a huge gap there of about 3 years before I then went back at the end of 2020 and started up another run. And in this 2020 run, you can see here there is no spoon. Finished the game within 8 hours. This was a speed run. And once I had the speed run done, I then went, well, there's only 8 or 9 more achievements, maybe a dozen. Looks like exactly 10 more achievements once I'd gotten those speedrun achievements. And so 431, 431, 431. Win the game without building any solar panels. Win the game without building any laser turrets. Win the game without building any active provider, buffer, or requested chests. So yeah, that's all part of that speedrun. So there was only 7 more achievements to do at that point. So I pushed through and used that save to continue on and get iron plates made and upscaling it a bit to get some electronic circuits made in order to get these remaining achievements and 100% Factorio, a game that I definitely quite clearly like. But I did say, of course, that the goal was to obtain at least 1 achievement a day, and this page here allows you to see games where you've played at least a single, you've obtained at least 1 achievement from the game. So this isn't games that are unplayed. These are games where they actually count towards my average game complete. And you can sort by the number of people that have obtained those achievements. So you can see here, Surgeon Simulator, over 80% of people that have played Surgeon Simulator have obtained the Doctor Give Me the News. Over 80% of people that have played Death Stranding Director's Cut have obtained Rebuilding America, completing episode 1. So this can allow you to sort your list by effectively what are the easy or early achievements within games that most people are able to get. But I used this a little bit, for example, to figure out that Bloons was going to be a useful game to play in order to get a number of easy achievements on days where I was struggling to get any achievements or had limited time. But I've done that for a few games, and then there's this huge mishmash of games listed here, none of which are in my sort of current actively playing games. And I don't want to be constantly jumping between new games and sort of making no progress on clearing my actual backlog. The last week to week and a half, I've been really focused on that concept of the backlog and trying to clear it out a bit. And so, yes, I still have a goal to obtain achievements, and I still have a goal to increase my average game completion. But what I think I want to do is I actually want to increase my perfect games, increase the games where I've got 100%. And so, effectively, this here is the list of my current active games. 8 recent games. These are games that I've played within the last week or 2. Latest unlock soon included 20th of May. Okay, fine. I have actually been playing a fair bit of Oxygen Not Included, but the last time I got an achievement was back in 20. Oh. But I finally got around to organising my backlog, and if eventually my whole games library, or at least my whole Steam games library, over here on how long to beat. I managed to import my whole Steam library, and I've organised everything where I've obtained at least one achievement over here into my backlog category. And therefore these are the games that I have not yet completed but have at least started. This is the games list of games that I will need to work on in order to increase my average game completion and my actual completions. I have retired a whole lot of games, including some of these are games where I have actually got achievements. For example, Skyrim or Skyrim Special Edition. But the games that are on my retired that I have got achievements for are ones that I just don't see myself ever going back to. Most of these, though, are games that don't have achievements in the first place, or are games that I haven't gotten any achievements, and I'm happy to say that I never will. The Dark Souls 2 is sitting there, but that's because there's a Dark Souls 2 Definitive Edition sitting over here in the backlog. And so, yes, they both actually count, Scholar of the First Sin, they both actually count against my average game completion, but I'm not going to 100% the game twice just to clear out the spare version of that. There's also an issue with Ori and the Will of the Wisps. My apologies, Ori and the Blind Forest, where there's both Blind Forest and Definitive Edition, and I'll probably just get rid of the original Blind Forest version and just complete the Definitive Edition version there. And then over here in Owned, we have all the games that I own but haven't yet started. So, or alternatively, some of these games I have actually started, but I've not obtained any achievements. So they aren't on the real backlog, these are on the potential backlog, and or there's sort of the backlog of I'd like to play these games, and not everything in here is something that I would necessarily want to play. And then there's the still need to complete backlog. And then over here in completed, we've got Factorio, the 3 we here's Secret of Monkey Island, which doesn't have any achievements, which is why it doesn't show up over here. Real Mist, which same thing, and Shadowrun Returns. Those 3 I have actually completed, but they don't have achievements, so they don't count against my achievement-based completion list. And then finally, if we look at playing, you can see the games that are currently the ones that I'm playing. Persona 5 Royal I'm playing on the Nintendo Switch, and if you know that game, I'm past the Okamura point and just coming up to Sai, being my current palace that I'm coming up to now. Ketchi has just made his offer of a deal at the school festival. But other than Persona 5 Royal, I've got Bloons, Oxygen Not Included, Warframe, and then the others which I've not commented on. Yakuza 0, Raft, DLC Quest, and Bitburner. DLC Quest is an interesting one. The rest of these are actually pretty big games. But DLC Quest, so if we take a look here, Bitburner, How Long to Beat says that takes 2,600 hours, Bloons 416 hours, Oni 361 hours, of which I've already got 489, but I've got a couple of sort of abandoned saves from when a patch broke my all achievement run, and I sort of need to go from scratch in both a base game and spaced out game in order to get the last achievements for base game and all of the most of the achievements for spaced out. And Raft here is a game I was playing with a friend. It says 130 hours, I've done 56. I suspect I can actually get this one completed a lot quicker than another 70 hours. Warframe is listed at 3,090 hours, I'm at 1,024, discussed that one already. And Yakuza 0, which I've been playing on my GPD Win 4. which I've only got 24 hours in. It says it's about 150 hours for completion, and I've seen numerous places that do seem to suggest that 150 hours is probably about right. But that's the games I'm currently playing, and I did say DLC Quest is an interesting one here. It's 9 hours is what How Long to Beat says is completion time. This one I came across because, well, I don't recall why I came across it. It showed up somewhere in one of my lists or something, and I decided to keep playing it. But if I was to decide at this point what's a game that I can install and fire in order to get a number of achievements and, well, effectively complete a game, if I wanted something I can play alongside all of these meaty, hefty games here, something that I could play to actually get a sense of progress, that's where Steam Hunters comes in useful. From what I've noticed, completionist.me seems very useful for sort of tracking your own progress and all around a really good tracker, whereas Steam Hunters is quite nice as a sort of a metagaming site, one that you can use to find games. And it's, yeah, completionist seems to be good from an achievement and progress point of view, whereas Steam Hunters is good from a games point of view. This is games ranked by my achievement percentage. If we go latest achievement, then that is just arguably quite similar to here. But if we click instead on median, then this shows us the games where the median completion time is quite low. Only an hour for completion of the search. Doors and Pac-Man and A Case of Distrust, Monument Valley, these games are all under a few hours to complete. And so these games that are sitting here with the lowest median times are the ones where if I'm slogging it out with big games in my playing list, I can reasonably quickly fire up one of these games and get a strong sense of progression, if not completely complete the game. And DLC Quest down here, you can see it's got a median completion time of 5 hours 14 minutes, whereas my actual playtime on it, that looks wrong, because that 1 hour there you go, 3 hours 38 is what I've actually played of it, which even that seems a little low. I think I'm more like 4.5 hours. But I'm at 86%, and a couple of days ago there was 7 achievements that I didn't yet have. I don't know. If take a look a couple of minutes ago in the video and you'll be able to see. But that's where I'm looking at the moment in regards to what I'm planning on doing. One thing I have been looking at doing as well is a bit of potential backlog drafting or a bit of backlog golf. But at this point, I think what I'm instead going to do is just choose for myself which games I'm actively playing. As you can see, I've already got 8 games sitting here on my playing list. I don't want to add any additional games to this based on what other people think I should play. I think I need to manage my expectations, and while I've still got so many big open games, I can throw in the occasional smaller game but otherwise I need to make some solid progress on decreasing my currently playing games list before I work on opening up to something like a backlog golf or a backlog draft. But that's the current state of play. As I say, sorry that I've lost Nomifactory, but the save doesn't even exist anymore. I can't recreate it, so it's unfortunately had to just basically die. But I am definitely making some solid progress on increasing my average game completion and on increasing my on starting to get on top of actually completing games and focusing on them rather than constantly flitting between games, which obviously is how I got to 180 started games and so many purchases that I've not even started, with over 300 games yet to even be tried. But all of that is a issue for another video. I'll probably post occasional updates, I think, and I'll record and post some playthroughs. For example, I have been playing a game called Inscription, which I've been quite enjoying. In fact, I believe it's right there, Inscription. So if we take a look at Inscription, here we go. I've obtained a number of the achievements here. Interesting that says 30th of November. Oh yes, I had actually originally tried this out at the end of last year, but I started recording a playthrough back here in 13th of July, about 2 weeks ago. And I need to sort of keep going. And it's a game that I will work on getting all the achievements, but I'll also be posting my playthrough as I play through it. I've made a number of videos already. I think it's about 6 or so that I've got sitting there, and I will look at, let's see, raw, pop over here. So Inscription, I've got, there you go, 7 episodes recorded, which I just need to, no, that's Warframe. There you go. Yeah, I've got 6 episodes of Inscription recorded, but I'm just going to need to edit together so that I, edit and upload. And then I'll continue that playthrough and upload as I go. I've also, another game that I had started, which, it looks like I've lost the recordings of, just like I lost Nomifactory there. I had actually started the Forgotten City, but it looks like I no longer have those recordings, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, I think that's one that I'm going to have to finish on my own instead of uploading. But, as I say, I'll upload some various playthroughs and upload some progress at various times. All that said, thank you for watching. Stay happy and healthy, and I hope to see you in the future.